Alright, so the 1975-ish Memphis Division of the Southern Railway. This is Sheffield Union Station. Behind it we see the remnants of the second set of engine facilities, Sheffield in the area for the Southern. At this time they're in the process of basically, they're rail car shops right there. Engine shops behind. The turntable would have been over there in the corner. A lot of it's already torn down, and these things will be down within a couple of years. So on my railroad, and my grandfather, when I used to sit here at the station and watch trains go by, used to tell me about the shops over there. And as a kid, I had no idea what he was talking about, so I couldn't imagine it. But now that I've seen some pictures, definitely something I wish I had, had a little more knowledge of. Prototype, just like prototype, there's a left-hand turn coming out away from the station. Double track main here. Here's an inbound sitting on main 2. There's just, the turnout for it. That's railroad. The local. This train is coming from Railroad West, Memphis, basically Memphis, which we will all head around to. So the last little couple pieces here. So this last little model chunks in Railroad West here is Tuscumbia. These buildings here represent cotton warehouses. Truthfully, that line coming out right through the middle there is the former main line. And you can see right here coming off this bridge, the railroad used to, again, this bridge not quite aimed right, but the line originally came this way, went into downtown Tuscumbia, and just went through Tuscumbia on east. I mean, this whole section that goes that way, what didn't even exist when the line was Memphis and Charleston was originally laid out. But this is, and when I jumped in the car with my granddad, we would haul buggy down this road, heading down to literally down to that station, and you can see there'll be some houses here and trees and stuff. Kind of, you'll see winks of the train back through here. So it will, it'll be just like I did in the old days. Saw it in the old days. This is Douglas Street. Actually, probably will end up being about here. Can't sit on that turnout that's over there. That's Tuscumbia, and then we go across the bridge, across Spring Creek, which I never saw. I kind of knew it was back there, but I never saw it. I think that's the only picture online of it. And then you get back to this crossing west of Tuscumbia. We always just referred to it as a kid as the crossing. There's a little house sitting next to it. So it'll be sitting here. The railroad obviously is up on a kind of an embankment, so I gotta build it up a little bit. Swing down here. Here'll be a turnout, comes across Old Memphis Highway. Old Memphis Highway goes that way across the crossing, and then this comes out down this way. Anyway, there'll be a turnout here, and it's an old siding to quarry that never saw traffic, even when I was a little kid. My grandfather can't really, at the time he's like, I can't really remember the last time I saw anything messing around down here. All right, so now on the real plan, there'll be another bridge over thing called over a small stream here called Bear Creek. But right now, I've just hijacked some of the track and turnouts from the staging level and made a little quick staging yard on this. This right here is the shoe fly, because this would normally be where the helix would sit. So we got a 4-track little quick staging yard here. And so for this end, this would basically be the line headed into either, there's a switch here in real life that the left branch goes to Sheffield Yard, the newest and current Sheffield Yard, and then the right branch goes south to Birmingham. On this railroad, it's going to be just one line goes into the helix, and depending on which, it would divide at that point, and one way goes down to Birmingham, and the other one goes to continues down to Sheffield Yard, which is represented by staging, which is all this down here with random things just kind of sitting on it. You see there, I had 3 loops running at the earliest time when first thing I had trains running was on those loops, but then I've started working up here and become a lot more enamored with this. So there's a small business park here. We'll have 2 different facilities here. I've kind of just said, all right, this one's going to take refrigerator cars and be some sort of like groceries, insulated box cars, who knows, foodstuffs, maybe beer. I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. I just kind of I stuck 2 box cars up here and just grabbed 2, and one happens to be refrigerated and the other one's insulated. So I was like, you know what, let's just call these 2 things, and that's what they're going to be. I pick back up. So these 2 cars are on a spur that's just railroad west of Sheffield Yard in the division point, which is they call Norala Junction, North Alabama. Used to be the joining point of multiple railroads, but now it's just a point on the Southern. Come over 72 overpass. This is all recycled from a previous module. Just some easy running down here to this turnout, which goes to what's in it. It's going to end up being Robbins Industry. In reality, it's on this side of the main, but again, I've never been over there. I've only seen it from aerials, and so we're just going to leave it. We're going to put it on that side of the main. We're going to do box cars. I think in my brain it's going to be some sort of paper, rolls paper in, corrugated out, doing something along those lines. And based on the Google Street View these days, it looks like it's just corrugated buildings. A couple of pike stuff kits or some continued, just throw something together with, corrugated styrene and see what happens. All this out here will just be grass now. Used to be, this is where Flexco was originally put, but like I said, we've moved it a couple times, and so now Flexco is over here. Come around here. The green is what the current plan is. This will be 6th Street. This is where my grandparents had me in the car. I was like 4 or 5. And they pull up coming from this direction about right here. Train crosses. Apparently I lose my mind. And so it's like, hey, wait a minute. So he loves trains. So that's how this whole thing started. But it was literally right here. So I imagine there's gonna be a car pulled off the side with a couple of, couple old people with a little kid on their shoulder or something and watching trains go by. That'll be a neat scene for me to do. Here's where Flexco has ended up. Again, the green is what we're looking at here. Flexco has a couple of spurs. It makes industrial floor tiles. So chemicals in, plastics in, boxes out with stuff in. And like I said, the spur here is actually, by prototype. It's kind of long and far away from the tracks. It's not right on the tracks, so the spur length is actually, prototypical. Here's the division point here. In real time, in real place, this turnout is a lot closer to 6th Street crossing. You can see it from there. Sometimes things just don't work out exactly like you want, but it's good enough here. I don't want to throw things on curves anymore. Double track down to here. In this area, so basically this is going to be Avalon Avenue. 4-lane road goes across here. Maybe not, I'm not quite sure. Probably end up getting rid of that and just leaving this as the X, L, and N line here to Tuscumbia, and there'll be the remnants. There's actually the Y still exists, so but there'll be a crud turnout kind of turning in here, and probably another one coming, something coming off here to show the two, the Y here for the interchange with the L and N that occurred right here. So now we have 3 trains. So now you have the empty coal train that heads out to Pride Loader, and then per prototype, this is how it actually happens. These 2 lines diverge. There's just kind of this open space in there. Some farmer farms it. And here, this building here is Sheffield Steel. I've got the space, and it's a again, in the old days, from the shots, overhead shots, everything else, it's a massive facility. So we're gonna give this thing a little room to breathe. It's gonna be, the kind of thing that is the thing over here, and then it kind of hides the fact that literally there's like nothing going on behind it. This little right here is gonna be a little concrete ready mix plant. Now over here is in real world, back over there where that Y, back over that way, where the Y was, it came and went kind of over that way, and this is the L and N interchange that is the most current L and N interchange that works at this point. Over there, since the track had just pulled up, the track's still there, but I've never known anything to be using it. I think they turned steam specials there on that Y in the 70s, but a lot of this there'll be multiple tracks here that are rip tracks. Again, everything that way from right here used to be in a whole nother classification yard. So we had Sheffield yard, the earliest one, which was all this trackage. There's gonna be X trackage down in here too. It was the first yard. Then they kind of moved it over here when they needed to be bigger, and then they moved it to the current Sheffield yard. But I mean, all this is going to be, at this point is being ripped up already. There's not a whole lot left over there at this 1975-ish. But they do leave some tracks in here that are used as rip tracks. There's maybe one line that goes definitively out that way, and then one, maybe two, depending on how it all falls out, spurs that are the interchange tracks. There will be a third line again coming up this way. There's the turnout for it. Gets up here, comes across, here, and that's what all this goes down that way off of. If I can weasel it in here, a short crossover just for. I mean, it does exist, but it'll make operations up in here. So then this line will come down, and there'll be 3 storage tracks out here that run all the way down to that set of switches next to that building. These are just stand-ins for some just random buildings that are on the overhead. But again, I just pushed all of this back. You can see where the lines used to be. They had a wicked S-curve right in here, so I just put this whole thing back. So those are probably going to disappear. Just haven't moved them yet. This is a large facility that I'm just going to have built around the pole. I'm going to paint the pole blue up above this at this, some later point, but it's rail served here. It's just bent around the wrong way right here. And there'll be lines that, again, lines that went over behind here and wandered on down that way, that date, back 50 years. But right now it's just going to be one line just goes straight, and then this thrown line, this spur off of it is going to be just like a freight house type. The foundation's there these days, but it's has a concrete ramp to it. And then this line will sit here, and currently there's like a railroad tie dealer. There's a couple of lines sitting. There's always a lot of railroad ties sitting there. So this is downtown Sheffield. We've got the main road that goes, that's the main drag through Sheffield. This is Atlanta Avenue. That's the other road, and then back between it. But this that building looks like there's gonna be a 3-story building right here. A couple of those, and then there were industrial type building began. A lot of that stuff was in the process was being it's the 70s, so stuff was headed out and being torn down, but it'll be a lot of stuff up against the backdrop there. And so then that puts us back onto the main drag. So here's I added this double crossover, which doesn't exist in the real world, because again 20-car train can sit between here and the other end of the double track right over there. Here's the station, which will again be active. This spur went to what they called nitrate plant number 1, which was built during World War I, but never, they didn't finish it before the end of the war, so it kind of sat, and it's gone through a bunch of different, owners and stuff. And then this is another spur for a large kind of industrial building, again dating back to about World War I. It was probably part of the nitrate plant, but that got separated, and there's 2 different businesses going on doing things with them now. I think that's more of a lumber company. Again, there's nothing there right now. But these will be short spurs, but they'll be active and have something at them of some sort, with facades of the building as it sits. So again, in the 70s, a lot of there's starting to see some slowdown. So they're different points. There's 2 more lines between the 2 active main lines here, between it and the car shops, that'll come around and rejoin over here. Based on spacing, it's kind of tight in there. We may end up with 1 right through there. And actually, now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, I think it is 1. I think I've just got too much stuff written on the ground, but pretty sure we're gonna end up with just 1. And again, when I'm watching trains here as a kid, I just remember, you know, lots of cars just kind of stored there. So we may see just lines of home market cars stored there. This is a typical train length for the layout. It's 20, I think it's just 21 or 22 cars. There's some shorter ones in there, so I think I had 1 or 2. But 23 locos, a caboose, and 20 cars is the set line, you know, line length or train length. You have the empty coal train sitting here on that 3rd track over there, and that's what that track was pretty much left there for. It just sits there. Pride loading facility was just west of Tuscumbia, just beyond where I'm modeling. And so when the loaded train would come out of Pride and come down and pass this one would crank up and head over and start loading. Southern was one of the first to run unit coal trains. These took coal that was barged down the river, transloaded at Pride into trains and run down to Georgia power plants. Now you can see this lower deck here. This is where the lower deck down. It'll cross over there. This piece back there, you can see my workbench. What's going to be the spray booth and stuff. Computer for JMRI. These will all be built on hinges. The top one, with all the turnouts and everything else, I mean, I'm not setting it to be movable unless, you know, dire emergency. So it's built to move, but not as a regular thing. The bottom one will be on a swing out, so you can get in and out of there easily. I'm 50. I'm still ducking into that without any issue these days. And then you can see up under here, these are the mounting points for the 2nd level on the peninsula. And big, you know, I've got or just kind of tucked up there, but those are the bench, the pieces of bench for that next level, kind of tucked up. And there's the supports. There's the end one over there. There's nothing here in the middle right now, but all the supports are sitting there. But until you finish the staging, you can't really do anything with this. So that's why we're kind of looking at it that way. So right now the upper level works and runs, and like I said, I've got, you know, staging tracks set up and it works. And I'm going to start running some operations a little bit, you know, set up a couple of locals, come out and switch the things I've got set up. You can see where, like I said, I've got cars set up in all the these different places, and I'm gonna run some trains, see if this works. And I expect it to, because this is down here. This is the 3rd iteration down here, but we'll see. I've learned at this point, you can't have anything set in stone, you know, even at this point, because you'll figure out, hey, this actually, there's no way this works, and you sure don't want to, you know, especially since we're at this stage, have to live with something that you could have changed. So that's where we're at. So 1975-ish Memphis Division of the Southern Railway. Have a great time.